So Pluto in Aquarius until 2044 means the big scene setter backdrop to all our lives will be crisis and metamorphosis in all things Aquarian. Technology, objective reality, our third eyes, extraterrestrial existence, the elites, communist socialist ideologies, protest movements and rebels, rebellion, ascension, as it's often referred to these days, astrology, electricity, anything and everything ruled by Uranus and Aquarius. The transformation and crisis will be here. Whatever area of your life you have Pluto in Aquarius, that is the house in which it lies within, in your own chart, is where it will be showing up in your life, for better and worse. It is important in this point to remember that Earth is a free will place, and we have the choice in how we experience these things, the attitudes we have, the choices we make. Here, even if the choice is between a rock and a hard place, there still will always be some sort of a choice, at least in our perception and attitude. Sure, it may be coloured by a good deal of trauma, for it seems the 3D realm on Earth that we're so focused on, the material plane, that is large part ego in our human existence. But perhaps this metamorphosis is in our perception of reality, will help us transform trauma too. As we come to understand more and more that we're not just existing in a finite material, three-dimensional plane of existence, that these bodies may die, but the soul does not. Evolutionary astrology teaches this, presumes this, spreads this notion, and here we see how the planetary energies work again. Even Plutonic, Pluto, astrology, Aquarius, is transforming our perception of reality. We also come to understand a little more how this archetype rules both trauma and enlightenment. The choice is our own. Which one will we choose, detached and cold as that may seem? But evolutionary astrology has the answer for this too. It teaches and advocates that in order to evolve in a healthy way, we must develop our Pluto polarity point, the exact opposite of the position of Pluto. Jeffrey Wolf Green, founder of evolutionary astrology, refers to this as the bottom line of any chart. This is what we must develop in order to do our Pluto most healthily, the exact opposite. Where we have a cold, hard, objective technology, we must bring the warming rays of the Leonine sun's creativity, subjectivity, magnanimous, generous, egotistical heart. If we do not develop our hearts and our unique expressions, maintain a healthy ego, there will be problems in objective reality. There will be far more trauma than enlightenment. Remember this is our most important work at this time. All those with Leo strong in their charts will be feeling this mission acutely. How we do these Leonine parts of ourselves will undergo deep and lasting transformation over these next years, decades. We need to be our unique, most creative selves at this time. But if it doesn't serve the collective good in some way, know that it won't endure for long. So the point is, there is always metamorphosis or crisis somewhere. It is necessary for our evolution as individuals and as a collective. But there is free will on whether we do this consciously or unconsciously, in its higher vibrationary form or lower vibrationary form. Will we use our power to make life good or bad? Even amidst a traumatizing war zone, we can still make positive decisions or negative decisions, ones that help others or ones that hinder others, and this shapes our own futures. In coming days and months of this new year, maybe pinpoint where Pluto is currently placed in your own chart. Which house will need your birth time? But if you don't know your birth time, ask yourself if you're really pushed to say where you're experiencing most crisis currently, in terms of technology and other Aquarian things, you may be aware enough to decipher yourself and narrow down your birth time based on this. Anyway, if you know your birth time and therefore house in which Pluto is currently transiting, can you recognize how you're experiencing crisis and metamorphosis here? This is the area in which over the next 19 years and last year or so, you will be slowly transforming from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Don't expect it to be easy, but remember you can choose to do it more or less consciously, with more or less cooperation in the process. And 19 years is a complete cycle of the lunar nodes too, which more advanced astrologers might enjoy thinking about. We'll have 18 months of every flavour of the cycle's possible 12 options, whilst under this Pluto and Aquarius umbrella. For now, until mid-2026, and for the entirety of 2025, we've been experiencing the lunar nodes, which represent the past, karmas, familiar tendencies, South Node, and the future, exaggerated pull and emphasis here, the North Node, in Virgo and Pisces. With the lunar nodes, in my experience and observation, the South Node can show up as removal of things belonging to the archetype in which it sits, so as to encourage us away from our more habitual tendencies, developed through heightened experience and expertise in this area. At the same time, we can experience the karmic rewards of this archetype for better and worse. Simultaneously, the North Node is pulling us towards the opposite in order to ultimately balance us out. It seems to do this by exaggerating and emphasizing all things pertaining to the archetype in which it currently sits. So currently, with the South Node in Virgo, all our experience in the Virgo areas of our lives, our daily routine, our work, our health, our digestive systems, our service, our attention to details, our to-do lists, are all going a little awry. We want to be organised, we want to be in a regular routine, but no matter how in control we try to be, there is this overriding sensation that we're not really in charge. It's out of our hands. The final outcome, no matter how much effort we make, how much attention to detail we apply, is not currently in our hands. This axis, in my perception, is all about effort, Virgo, and grace, Pisces. It's about understanding that everything consists of these two factors to create successful outcomes. It's never entirely down to our efforts, but if we don't make them, no grace will come. It's all about understanding the subtle balance we are privileged to experience as instruments of divine will, co-creating with the universe. The emphasis at this time with the North Node in Pisces is learning to trust that the universe is on it. Pisces wants us to let go and accept what is, however it shows up. What will be, will be. We must play our part, what we do matters, but do not get carried away with the notion that we hold all the power. With the nodes, we are often not doing either archetype ideally. We're more in the process of attempting to achieve balance on a seesaw that has unequal weights on either side, with one side being highly exaggerated, so we are forced to engage here. But its unfamiliarity and weight feels uncomfortable, perhaps fear-filled. Whilst the opposite end, the South Node, has been superficially removed, our comfort blanket has been taken away, so we have to grow up and out of our comfort zone tendencies. But the memories and habits and these tendencies remain on some level, though they are driven underground whilst they're superficially removed. Our debts too will have to be paid in this area, and our gifts developed may be called for at this time, but in a new and more evolved form that brings in better balance the opposite archetype. I hope this makes sense and you can translate that into your own lives. Are you experiencing stomach issues because of your own past habits, this life, or another's? And unlike how we used to get away with it, it's now reward time with actual factual crunch time. And with a dissolved health system, removal of health systems, Virgo South Node, instead of finding a doctor to help, the non-existence or inadequate solutions are driving us to do our own healthcare homework better, as well as forcing us to surrender to what is. Pray for a divine solution or miracle cure. Anyone given up all hope and been praying for help lately? Not such a crazy idea these days. Give it a go. Virgo and Pisces are all about health and healing. With Pisces being exaggerated, we're discovering that there is a spiritual component to our health and healing, not just the physical. It's all about balancing the two. Evolutionary astrology and Jeff Wolf Green has a lot to say about this axis, calling it the victim-martyr axis. If we're not careful, which we largely haven't been, let us not be either victims nor martyrs as the shadow versions act for these archetypes. Let us instead be discerning, humble instruments of unconditionally loving heart. And remember that an unconditionally loving heart does not facilitate bad behaviour. It needs perfect discernment when deciding how to express this unconditional love. There's a lot to contemplate here. So anyway, that's the big backdrop of what is happening in evolutionary astrology terms in the ongoing planetary climatic conditions. Now for the central drama this month. The full moon is in Cancer on the morning of the 3rd of January, Greenwich Mean Time. The Sun has been in Capricorn since December 22nd, when we experienced a shift in focus of our central theme. That is, where the Sun moved from searching for the meaning of it all in Sagittarius to our personal goals for status and career. Our concerns switched somewhat from what we thought about things to what we thought other people think about us and our public achievements. Our role in society, our reputation, the facade we would put on at all the Christmas parties and gatherings. Anyone up for admitting their lack of achievements at these gatherings? Unlikely. We got thinking about these reputations and achievements and public roles and profiles of ours. We're currently still thinking about what we want them to be in the coming year. The time of New Year's resolutions takes place here, where we set our goals and ambitions and assess our past year's karmic rewards and failings in true Capricorn fashion. With the day of the full moon taking place in Cancer, the high point of the month brings our moods into an emotional opposition with all these lofty career ambitions and materialistic goals. We can't just be this person we think we should be in the eyes of others. We must also tend to our own emotional needs. You can set all the goals you like, but if you're not in the mood to achieve them, they won't be achieved. If they are not in alignment with your personal needs and emotional well-being and home life, ain't nothing doing on the public front. The image will break down in two shakes of a pile of washing up. We have to keep our homes, private living spaces, our families and emotional selves in order to. The public and private selves and spaces support each other, and this full moon highlights this. With Jupiter here too this last year and much of the next, Papa has been on Mama's side for a while now. He's been doing his fair share of washing up and recognising that home is where the heart is. Who really cares what other people think of us anyway? Don't forget, we're just as much seen through other people's own whimsical filter as much as we see them through ours. And by the way, we're all part Papa and part Mama, no matter our gender. We all have Cancer and Capricorn somewhere. The side of ourselves we present publicly, keeping that stiff Saturnian upper lip, and the side that screams, "I can't cope," as our hormones drive us into baffling hysteria for no clear reason. These being the shadow sides of Capricorn and Cancer. We don't have to necessarily choose to be either. As we gain experience, we learn to be responsible and tend to our hearts at the same time, and/or in their appropriate times and places. The push at this time with benevolent, expansive Jupiter and caring Cancer and the North Node and dreamy Pisces is to go with your emotional flow. Listen to your own needs, nurture and be kind to yourself when making these career decisions and your New Year's goals. That's the way to true success, by balancing the two. And the Chiron in Aries ongoing square is learning more and more to be patient with ourselves. If you haven't already begun some self-love practices, at least set the intention as a New Year's goal. This is the real way to build up our energy reserves. Where there is love, there is no effort. and we must start with ourselves.